So, in this week's episode of the Creative Confidence Catch Up, today I'm going to be talking with Sam. Sam, would you like to tell us a bit about yourself?
Hi, I'm Sam. I would still class myself as an illustrator, but I'm primarily a miniature painter now.
Awesome. So exciting. Like the good thing about that, yeah, all these different things that I've been seeing on social media, just like really, really interesting. So in terms of originally going into illustration, how did you find it? Was there a lot of expectation, competition? How did you find it at the beginning?
Uh, I would say for me, it was very cutthroat
Mhm.
in a sense. Well, more competitive than cutthroat. I mean, that's quite a harsh term.
Yeah, I
Um,
get what you
yeah,
mean.
it was quite competitive.
Mhm.
And coming out of uni, doing illustration, I did struggle quite a
Mhm.
lot with because I did want to do it as like a sort of career
Mhm.
in the long run. But yeah, I think in the end it ended up more of a hobby,
Yeah, yeah.
which
So in terms of
yeah
originally you were looking at like poster designs and stuff, which I used to see a lot of, and like a cartoon sort of things.
yeah it's more of the sort of cartoony sort of aspect of it, like I don't know, kids books. I was
Mhm.
very interested in sort of animations. I was very influenced by a lot of animations from like cartoons as a kid, so I always wanted to go into that. I mean, I've never lost that interest. I mean, I still dabble in that sort of thing now. It's just more on the back burner now.
Yeah, it's really interesting. But like, so in terms of like, yeah, it being very competitive and stuff like that, how did you find in terms of like try and build a community of people who could support you? Was that there at uni, or did you quite get that? And maybe that's why you found it a bit more difficult to kind of get into the illustrative sort of field.
I mean, there was a sense of community.
Hmm.
I made quite a lot of friends in and out at the end of uni. I made a number of friends that I'm still in contact with a couple of, but it was never really illustration community. It was more just like an art community.
I get you. Hmm.
Like, for example, if there was like a job that had come up, it was more, yeah, it was more like, I don't know, it was a bit more competitive. So you never felt like you could have a community
Yeah.
with, well, for me anyway.
Hmm.
Um, I found more sort of the more of the community aspect in the wider range of art.
Yes, I get you.
Just
Yeah.
like a sort of like just an illustration community. I think it was there. It just wasn't as friendly as I expected.
Yeah. So I suppose in
Yeah,
terms of like maybe the accountability and stuff like that that you could have probably had, like people encouraging each other and things like that, it was sort of
yeah,
a competitive sort of thing because everybody was after the same jobs.
pretty much. Yeah, it was like, I mean, yeah, it was like a load of crows going after a tiny bit of meat. So there was quite a lot of. I mean, it was never nasty.
No,
I
no.
never had um, any negative sort of parts of the community. It was just more like you never felt like you wanted to sort of celebrate your own work because you felt bad for the other people,
Mm-hmm. Bit
like
of
that they
imposter
didn't get the
syndrome
job.
kicking in there.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. Um, yeah.
Yeah, interesting. So, like in terms of community now, and then obviously we got to the pandemic, and you started looking into this sort of like a miniature painting.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me tell us about that. Your new venture, I suppose you could call it.
Well, at the start of the pandemic, I had a lot of time on my hands. Obviously, everybody had a lot of time on their hands, and I did sort of dabble in sort of more textile based
Hmm.
illustration. So I was doing a lot of sewing, a lot of embroidery and things
Oh, I
like
love
that.
it.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, and I still do enjoy it. But I was very it was very isolating,
Hmm.
I found anyway. And then sort of near the end of 2020, my brother bought me a little box of some sort of alien thing from Warhammer,
Hmm.
and he said, "Give this a go." More of like a just a hobby sort of thing rather than going anywhere with it. He said, "Just this will take your mind off everything."
Hmm.
And then I started building and painting, and something in my head just clicked,
Hmm.
and I was like, this is fun. This is because growing up, I knew of miniatures and Warhammer, and I always sort of steered clear of it. I thought it was, oh, that's a bit too geeky for me.
Hmm.
Even, I mean, I'm a geek, but it was a bit too much for me. But in actuality, it was, yeah, it was something I should have probably looked at a long time ago.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, as soon as he gave me that box, it was no turning back really. I just sort of went straight into it full force.
That's ace. So in terms of like the community there, was that more is that more supportive now? So like as you start to establish these like miniature figurines, etc., and painting them, building more of a community, you've got is it Discord and things like that to
Yeah, yeah,
speak with everybody?
yeah. Pretty much immediately, I would say I made an Instagram account for my miniatures, just so it was like a different sort of avenue from my
Hmm.
illustration account. And pretty much immediately, I got people following me. I got likes. I got comments telling me how I could do things better. Sort of supporting me, saying, "Oh, this is brilliant. Keep going." And sort of straight away, I just sort of thought, "This is the sort of community I want to be in." And yeah, a lot of people right from the start have basically become lifelong friends, and we've sort of made this smaller community within our community. Because I mean, it is quite a niche thing, but there is quite a big community around it, and it's almost like pockets of smaller communities.
Hmm.
And I've basically found myself in this really supportive, really sort of inclusive one. And I think it was summertime last year, sort of June, July. I thought, oh, let's have a place where all my friends can basically talk, share each other's work, where it's not lost in the sort of algorithm of Instagram. So I found Discord was the best sort of thing, and I sort of made that made that. It's had about 10 people join that were friends, and then from there it's sort of ballooned. I can't remember how many members we've got now, but there's always something going on there. There's always somebody giving support. There's always people showing each other's work. Sort of, we do collaborations. It's sort of the sort of community you imagine that you want to be part of. And I never thought, after seeing the sort of community aspect of my illustration life, I never thought that this sort of community did exist in miniature painting of all things. But yeah,
Hmm.
it's been absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, yeah, really cool. So, yeah, it sounds like the creativity and like the current projects are really helping to kind of spur your confidence on and stuff like that. And I'm sure that's pretty much the same for other people who are also a
Yeah.
part of those communities and stuff like that. So, yeah, as we come towards the end of this week's sort of little episode, do you have any words of encouragement or wisdom that might be insightful for other people?
Yeah, I'll basically say the thing that my mom always told me is that no matter what you do creatively, just go into it with the same happiness as you had when you started, and just do the things that you enjoy. don't bog yourself down with trying to be too commercial or sort of pigeonholing yourself. Just do what you enjoy, and it will just sort of fit into place, really.
That's brilliant. No, thank you so much for coming on today and sharing your
No,
insights.
thank you for having me.
It's been really, really enjoyable. Yeah, really great insights. Thank you so much.
Brilliant, thank you.